I want to testify that I have always loved Brooklyn. It is 30% of the population of New York City. Do you know that? And if it was counted as a city on its own, as it should be, it would be the third largest city in the whole nation after LA and Chicago. Now it's getting such publicity and so fan-fucking-tastic that everybody knows about Brooklyn. But I want to submit to you that for many or several years, when I was often living with a friend who lived in Brooklyn, I discovered how great Brooklyn was. And therefore, Brooklyn is included in this book in many ways, but especially with Black Pearl. Does anybody here know Black Pearl, the car service, Black Pearl? It still exists. It may be now smaller given all the car services that are out there. But in a lot of ways, it symbolizes what's great about Brooklyn. I began to use Black Pearl, a car service, in this, the oldest borough, where residents are more than a third African American. Because yellow cabs in Manhattan often avoid black neighborhoods and also refuse long trips to other boroughs, though by law, they are required to take passengers wherever they want to go, many gypsy cabs and car services have sprung up. Among the oldest is Black Pearl. Its slogan has always been, "We're not yellow, we'll go anywhere." Every time I called the dispatcher, a driver showed up within minutes, always in a big, old, low-slung American car with such comforts as incense, seats covered in fake fur, surround sound music, and no safety barrier to interfere with talking to the driver. It was like riding in a placenta with, with Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, or Chaka Khan, listening to anything from the oldest blues and reggae to the newest dance or rap music. The first time I thanked a driver for this peak experience of music, and I'd been sort of blissed out and totally unaware of the traffic, he just smiled and said, "One day I turned around," he said, "and a couple on the back seat were dancing." I discovered from drivers just how important this car service was. Not only did many yellow cabs bypass black people on the street or say, "Sorry, I don't go to Brooklyn," but black women close to giving birth couldn't count on a taxi to take them to the hospital and had to find a car service in advance. Then an African-American man named Calvin Williams returned to Brooklyn after serving in the Korean War and invented Black Pearl. It became so popular that voters elected him to the New York State Assembly, where he served for 2 terms. Within Black Pearl, every driver has a story. After getting the same one on a couple of trips, I asked why he had the only Venetian blinds I'd ever seen in a car. "Well, around here," he says, gesturing to the streets of Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood, "money is easier to come by than privacy. You can borrow or steal money, but you can't find a private place. When I was coming up with 7 brothers and sisters, I met my girlfriend under the stairs, dodging rats and winos, or I froze my ass off on street corners with my buddies. Even when I went to the Brooklyn Fox to see Little Stevie Wonder." Anybody here still remember when he was Little Stevie Wonder? I just want to tell you how long I've been loving Brooklyn. I actually saw Libby Smith. Oh, right. He was a little kid then. Security guards would shine flashlights up and down the aisles. All I wanted to be was cool in summer and warm in winter and listen to music, to have just a little private space for happiness. So when I retired from my city job and started driving for Black Pearl, I thought, this is it. I'm a rescuer. I'm a black knight in silver armor. I always make sure nobody in the car has guns, drugs, or alcohol. Then I turn up the music, turn down the blinds, and drive around for as long as my customers want. Among his regulars were girls from a local Catholic school who rode around with the boyfriends they weren't supposed to have, a black Muslim father of 5 whose wife wouldn't let him listen to sinful music, 2 male firefighters who rode home together after work in the most famously homophobic agency in the city, a single mother who needed time away from her job and kids, and an elderly unmarried couple who held hands where their children and grandchildren couldn't see them. Only food and water are more important than music and privacy, he says seriously. I am a rescuer. This is Brooklyn to me.